What I'm dealing with is hard because it involves more than just my heart. It involves a lot of little hearts. You know, we have 4 kids, and divorce is never easy. And we're both from divorced families.
Long before the world knew her name, Kelly Clarkson was a young girl in a small Texas town, singing quietly to herself between classes. Born on April 24th, 1982, in Fort Worth, Texas, Kelly grew up in a working household. Her mother, Jean, taught first grade, while her father, Stephen Michael Clarkson, worked as an engineer before eventually stepping away from that career. Kelly had 2 older siblings, a brother named Jason and a sister named Alyssa, and for a time their family life felt ordinary and stable. That stability broke apart when Kelly was 6 years old. Her parents divorced, and the family scattered in the process. Jason went to live with their father, Alyssa moved with an aunt, and Kelly stayed behind with her mother. It was a jarring shift for a child so young, and it left a mark that would surface again and again throughout her life, including in her music years later. A few years after the divorce, Kelly's mother remarried a man named Jimmy Taylor, and the family settled into a household built around faith. Raised as a devoted Southern Baptist, Kelly attended church twice a week, and religion became more than a routine for her. It became a source of identity and comfort. She grew close to her church community and eventually took on a leadership role in her youth group, finding in faith a kind of steadiness that her home life had not always offered. Kelly spent most of her childhood in Burleson, Texas, a small town not far from Fort Worth. It was there, at Pauline Hughes Middle School, that an ordinary school day changed the direction of her life. While singing casually in a hallway, she caught the attention of choir teacher Cynthia Glenn, who was struck by the natural power in her voice and encouraged her to try out for the school choir. Kelly hesitated. She had never taken a singing lesson in her life, but she auditioned anyway, and to her own surprise, she made it in. That small decision opened a door. By the time she reached Burleson High School, Kelly had thrown herself fully into performing, taking part in school musicals and plays, and eventually starting formal voice lessons. She dreamed at the time of attending college on a music scholarship. When she graduated in 2000, several universities offered her exactly that. Full scholarships from schools including the University of Texas at Austin, the University of North Texas, and the prestigious Berklee College of Music. Kelly turned them all down. She had already written dozens of songs by then, and felt a pull toward building a career on her own terms rather than through a classroom. She reasoned that college would always be there if she needed it later, but the chance to chase music while she was young might not be. So instead of packing for a dorm room, she took on odd jobs around Burleson, saving whatever she could to record a demo. It didn't open the doors she'd hoped for. She even turned down interest from major labels like Jive Records and Interscope, unwilling to be shaped into a bubblegum pop image that didn't feel like her. In 2001, determined to find better luck, Kelly packed up and moved to Los Angeles. She scraped by working as a background extra on television shows like Sabrina, The Teenage Witch, and Dharma and Greg, and briefly worked with veteran songwriter Jerry Goffin, recording demo tracks in hopes of finally landing a deal. But Los Angeles wasn't kind to her. Record executives passed on her voice, calling it too soulful or too rooted in R&B to market easily. Then disaster struck. A fire destroyed the apartment she was living in, leaving her with nothing and forcing her back home to Texas. Rather than give up, Kelly rebuilt from scratch in Burleson, working multiple jobs at once, promoting Red Bull, working as a telemarketer, and waiting tables at a comedy club. She had no idea that her life was about to change completely. In 2002, at her friend's urging, she auditioned for a new television show almost nobody had heard of yet, American Idol. In May 2002, Kelly earned what the show called a golden ticket, securing her spot in the Hollywood rounds of American Idol. Even so, audiences didn't actually see her on air until the second episode. Looking back on the experience a decade later, Kelly described it as chaotic. The show's format was still being worked out on the fly, and contestants were often left to fend for themselves. At one point, she and the other hopefuls were simply dropped off at a mall and told to find outfits appropriate for national television, with little guidance. Kelly, who had almost no fashion background at the time, later joked that she ended up in white pants that made her look more like a cocktail waitress than a future star. None of that chaos mattered once she started singing. On September 4th, 2002, at the Kodak Theater, now the Dolby Theater, Kelly Clarkson was crowned the very first winner of American Idol, taking 58% of the vote over runner-up Justin Guarini. Her win didn't just launch her own career. It helped establish American Idol as one of the most influential competition shows in television history. Almost immediately, Kelly signed a major recording deal arranged by Idol creator Simon Fuller and music executive Clive Davis, who also stepped in as executive producer of her debut album. Just 2 weeks after her win, on September 17, 2002, she released her first single, a double A-side pairing, Before Your Love, with A Moment Like This. Both performed during the finale. The single entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 60, climbed to 52, and then leapt all the way to number 1, a jump so dramatic it broke a 38-year-old chart record previously held by the Beatles. A Moment Like This became the best-selling single in the United States for all of 2002. Her debut album, Thankful, arrived on April 15, 2003, blending pop, contemporary R&B, and gospel influences with contributions from hitmakers like Diane Warren and Babyface. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, eventually selling more than 4.5 million copies worldwide and earning double platinum certification in the U.S. Billboard, would go on to rank Kelly as the 10th biggest female artist of 2003. The album's lead single, Miss Independent, became her first true international hit, and a later track, The Trouble with Love, found new life after being featured in the British romantic comedy Love Actually. Kelly toured to support the album in 2004, co-headlining alongside fellow Idol Alan Clay Aiken, and that same year, she made her first foray into film with From Justin to Kelly, a musical romantic comedy co-starring Guarini. The movie was a critical and commercial failure, and Kelly later admitted she hadn't wanted to make it in the first place. She was contractually obligated to as part of her Idol deal, and she distanced herself from the project in the years that followed. In December 2003, Kelly represented the United States at World Idol, a one-off event in London bringing together winners from Idol franchises around the world. She placed second, behind Norway's Kurt Nilsson. Within her first full year of fame, she had a number 1 album, a Grammy nomination, and millions of records sold. Clear evidence that she was far more than a reality show novelty. The years after Thankful proved that Kelly's success wasn't a one-time fluke. In 2004, she released Breakaway, an album that marked a deliberate shift toward a rockier, more guitar-driven pop sound and away from the R&B leanings of her debut. The title track and lead single Breakaway became an anthem in its own right, but it was the album's second single, Since You've Been Gone, that truly reshaped how the public saw her. The song became inescapable on radio, earned Kelly her first Grammy wins, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and alongside the album itself, Best Pop Vocal Album, and remains one of the defining pop rock singles of the 2000s. Breakaway went on to sell more than 12 million copies worldwide, cementing Kelly as an artist who could evolve without losing her audience. She continued that evolution with My December in 2007, a darker, more personal record that she fought to release largely on her own terms, reportedly clashing with her label over its direction. Though it didn't match the commercial heights of Breakaway, it demonstrated her willingness to prioritize artistic control over guaranteed chart success, a pattern that would recur throughout her career. She bounced back commercially with 2009's All I Ever Wanted and 2011's Stronger, the latter of which won her a third Grammy and included the hit single Mr. Know-It-All. A decade after her Idol win, she released a Greatest Hits collection in 2012, followed by Wrapped in Red, her first Christmas album, in 2013. She continued recording steadily through the rest of the decade, releasing Piece by Piece in 2015, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and Meaning of Life in 2017, her first album under Atlantic Records after leaving her longtime label RCA. Television became just as central to her career as music. In 2018, after several years appearing as an advisor on the NBC singing competition The Voice, Kelly joined the show full-time as a coach for its 14th season, and promptly won, guiding 15-year-old Bryn Cartelli to the title in her very first season as a coach. She won again the following season with Cheryl Shepherd and has since added 2 more championships, with Jake Hood in season 17 and the sibling trio Girl Named Tom in season 21. giving her 4 wins overall, the second most in the show's history behind fellow coach Blake Shelton, and the highest win rate per season of anyone who's held a chair. In September 2019, Kelly launched her own daytime program, The Kelly Clarkson Show, serving as both host and executive producer. The show found an audience quickly, mixing music, interviews, and Kelly's famously unfiltered, down-to-earth hosting style, and has become a consistent ratings success in daytime television. She has won the Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Entertainment Talk Show Host multiple times since the show's debut, and the program itself has repeatedly won for Outstanding Talk Show Entertainment. Between her music and television work, Kelly has accumulated 3 competitive Grammy Awards from 17 nominations, along with numerous American Music Awards, MTV Video Music Awards, and by 2025, 8 Daytime Emmys, a body of work that places her among a very small group of entertainers who have found major, sustained success in both music and television hosting. Kelly first crossed paths with Brandon Blackstock, a talent manager, back in 2006 during a rehearsal for the Academy of Country Music Awards. Nothing came of that first meeting. Years later, after Blackstock's own marriage had ended, their paths crossed again, reportedly after Kelly performed the national anthem at Super Bowl 46 in February 2012, and this time, a real relationship began to form. By December 2012, Brandon had proposed, and Kelly said yes. They married in October 2013, blending their families. Brandon already had 2 children, Savannah and Seth, from a previous marriage. Kelly and Brandon went on to have 2 children of their own, daughter River Rose, born in 2014, and son Remington Alexander, born in 2016. For years, the marriage looked, from the outside, like a genuine partnership. Kelly spoke openly and warmly about Brandon in interviews, describing a connection unlike anything she'd felt before. But privately, cracks were forming. Kelly later said that even while married, she often felt like she was living life as a single woman, juggling a demanding career and motherhood without the partnership she'd hoped for. In June 2020, after nearly 7 years of marriage, Kelly filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. She has since described the decision as one that didn't come easily, and the years that followed were emotionally difficult. In a 2024 interview with Zane Lowe on Apple Music One, she admitted she didn't handle the situation well, recalling sessions with friends where she couldn't even speak through the tears, even before the 2 had formally separated. What followed was a long and contentious legal process. Custody, spousal support, and the division of property, especially the couple's Montana ranch, all became points of dispute. In November 2020, a judge granted Kelly primary custody of River and Remington. The divorce was finalized in March 2022, with Kelly retaining the Montana ranch along with the couple's vehicles and pets. As part of the settlement, she agreed to pay Blackstock a one-time sum of roughly $1.3 million, plus $45,000 a month in child support, while Blackstock was awarded $115,000 a month in spousal support through January 2024. Blackstock remained on the Montana property for a period afterward before he was required to move out by June 2022. The legal fight didn't end there. Because Blackstock had also served as Kelly's manager, a separate dispute emerged over the commissions his company, Starstruck Entertainment, had collected from deals tied to projects like The Voice, the Billboard Music Awards, and Norwegian Cruise Line. In November 2023, the California Labor Commissioner ruled in Kelly's favor, finding that Blackstock's arrangement had violated state talent agency law and ordering him to return more than $2.6 million in commissions. Blackstock appealed, and further litigation followed before the 2 sides reached a settlement in 2024. During this stretch of upheaval, Kelly made a deeply personal choice. In February 2022, she legally changed her name to Kelly Brienne. She explained that she would continue using Kelly Clarkson professionally, but that the change was tied to her complicated relationship with her father, Stephen Michael Clarkson, who had left the family when she was 6 and remained largely absent from her life afterward. That absence shaped some of her most personal songwriting, including Piece by Piece, a song about a father who walked away, and for a time, about a husband who showed her a kind of steadiness she'd never had growing up. Years later, after her own divorce, Kelly reworked the meaning of that same song, performing a version recast as an anthem of self-reliance rather than romantic rescue. Kelly channeled much of this period into her 10th studio album, Chemistry, released in June 2023, deliberately timed a little over a year after her divorce was finalized. The album traced the arc of love, heartbreak, and healing, and critics praised it for its honesty and emotional range. She kept some of her sense of humor intact through it all, too, in a holiday visualizer that year. She displayed 4 Christmas stockings, 1 for herself, 2 for her children, and a 4th labeled Nope, a small, wry nod to Brandon's absence from the family. In 2023, Kelly relocated with her children to New York City to film the 5th season of The Kelly Clarkson Show, a move that represented a fresh start well beyond a simple change of address. She's spoken about embracing her role as a single parent, and has said in interviews that her children have told her they prefer she stay single for now, a wish she says she respects, choosing instead to focus on her bond with River and Remington and on open, honest communication with them. The final chapter of this story arrived in the summer of 2025. On August 6, Kelly announced on social media that she was postponing the remaining dates of her Las Vegas residency studio sessions, writing that her children's father had been ill over the past year and that she needed to be fully present for River and Remington. She had kept the situation private up to that point. Less than 24 hours later, on August 7, 2025, Brandon Blackstock's family confirmed that he had died at age 48 after privately battling cancer for more than 3 years. A county coroner later confirmed the cause as melanoma, a serious form of skin cancer. In a statement, his family said he had passed away peacefully at his home in Butte, Montana, surrounded by family, and asked for privacy during the difficult time. Kelly has largely kept her grief private since, focusing her public statements on her children and their well-being. Whatever turbulence marked her personal life, Kelly Clarkson's professional career has been remarkably durable. Across more than 2 decades, she has racked up over 100 #1 placements across various Billboard charts and earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In the United States alone, she has sold more than 25 million albums and roughly 45 million singles, with 14 million of those albums and 35 million of those digital singles coming directly from her own catalog rather than collaborations or features. One of the most distinctive things about her career is how comfortably she moves across genres. She became the first artist in history to top Billboard's pop, adult contemporary, country, and dance charts, a rare feat that speaks to just how versatile her voice and songwriting have proven to be, whether she's leaning into a pop anthem, a country ballad, or a dance floor single. That versatility hasn't gone unnoticed by the industry. VH1 named her 19th on its list of the 100 greatest women in music, and Fuse included her among the 30 greatest musicians to emerge from singing competitions. In 2025, Billboard ranked her the 11th most successful female artist of the 21st century and 27th overall, a marker of just how much staying power she's built in an industry known for short careers. Simon Cowell, who first worked with Kelly during her Idol run, has been vocal over the years that her success wasn't a byproduct of the show. In his view, her rise came down to raw talent, and if anything, Idol was fortunate to have found her rather than the other way around. The Hollywood Reporter once called her the perfect pop star, pointing to vocals versatile enough to move fluidly between pop, rock, country, and dance. Billboard has described her as a phenomenon who helped prove that reality competition shows could discover genuine, lasting artists, and the Washington Post credited her powerful voice and stage presence with forcing the broader music industry to take reality TV singers more seriously.